Welcome back to the show. Today, we are stepping into the dusty, sweltering streets of 1930s Maycomb, Alabama. We are talking about a book that won the Pulitzer Prize, sold over 40 million copies, and forced a mirror in front of America's legal and moral systems. I'm talking, of course, about Harper Lee's masterpiece, To Kill a Mockingbird. If you read this in high school, you probably remember a little girl named Scout, a reclusive neighbor named Boo Radley, and a courtroom drama that still hits hard today. But at its absolute core, this book asks one incredibly difficult question. What happens when the law of the land conflicts with what you know in your heart is right? To understand To Kill a Mockingbird, you have to understand the difference between justice and morality. We like to think these two things are the same. Justice is a legal system, the courts, the judges, the juries. Morality is our internal compass of right and wrong. In a perfect world, the justice system perfectly reflects our morals. But 1930s Alabama was not a perfect world. It was a world deeply infected by systemic racism and prejudice. Harper Lee shows us this world through the eyes of a child, Scout Finch. But the moral anchor of the story is her father, Atticus Finch. Atticus is a lawyer who is appointed to defend Tom Robinson, a black man falsely accused of a terrible crime by a white woman. Atticus knows before the trial even begins that he is going to lose. The deeply ingrained racism of the town means a white jury in the 1930s South will never take the word of a black man over a white woman, regardless of the evidence. So, why does he do it? Why take a case you know is doomed, especially when it turns a whole town against you and puts your own family in danger? To really understand this, let's look at a specific example from the book. If you are listening to this on your commute or while doing dishes, pause for a second and picture this scene. Imagine you are in a suffocatingly hot courtroom. Atticus Finch is presenting his defense of Tom Robinson. Here are the facts Atticus lays out. The accuser, Mayla Ewell, was beaten primarily on the right side of her face. This means her attacker was almost certainly left-handed. Atticus proves that Mayla's father, Bob Ewell, is aggressively left-handed. Then, Atticus has Tom Robinson stand up. Tom's left arm was caught in a cotton gin when he was a boy. It is entirely paralyzed. It hangs useless at his side. It is physically impossible for Tom Robinson to have committed the crime he is accused of. The evidence is undeniable. The logic is flawless. Atticus has proven Tom's innocence beyond a shadow of a doubt. But the jury convicts Tom anyway. This is the central collision of the book. The legal system, the court of justice, fails completely, but the moral system, Atticus standing up for the truth, remains intact. CT. Atticus explains his morality to his daughter Scout early in the book with a line that defines the whole novel. He said, "YS, before I can live with other folks, I've got to live with myself. The one thing that doesn't abide by majority rule is a person's conscience." Atticus took the case because if he didn't, he wouldn't be able to look his children in the eye. He couldn't teach them to be good people if he refused to do the right thing when it was difficult. He showed that morality isn't about winning. It's about standing on the side of truth, even when the system is broke. And that brings us to the title. What does it mean to kill a mockingbird? In the book, Atticus buys his kids air rifles but tells them it is a sin to kill a mockingbird. Why? Because mockingbirds don't eat up people's gardens. They don't nest in corn cribs. They don't do one thing but sing their hearts out for us. They are completely innocent. Tom Robinson is a mockingbird. He only ever tried to help Mayla Ewell out of kindness, and he was destroyed by the prejudice of his associate. Why? The tragedy of the book is that the justice system was used as a weapon to kill a mockingbird. But the triumph of the book is that people like Atticus Finch exist, people who will stand in front of the mob, stand in front of a biased jury, and tell the truth anyway. Why? Harper Lee forces us to ask ourselves, in our own lives, when a crowd is going one way, and our conscience is pulling us another, do we have the courage to be an Atticus? Or do we sit quietly in the jury bowl? Think about that the next time you see a system failing the people it's supposed to protect. Thanks for listening. If this sparked a thought for you, share this episode with a friend, and let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, keep reading and keep questioning.